crazy? Is this too crazy? Full on night mode? Yeah, it's been a while. I keep messing around with fancy pants camera lenses because for me it's kind of fun, but it's good to get back to regular ass basics. Normally you can't. Well, whatever. That's just me nerding out. But no, plan for tonight. Smack some back around, right? Get pumped to shit, but in the process, make sure I hit it from, if not head to toe, trap to lat. Right? I'm talking top to bottom. And I've always been the kind of guy where if I'm doing back, I'm typically just doing back, right? I consider all of back one, but I get the logic, and I've even kind of torn myself up about this before, because it's like, when I used to do shoulders, I would do similar volume for side delts and rear delts and front delts, and then when I would do legs, right, I do quads and hamstrings. But back is all sorts of muscles. It's your lats, it's your traps, it's your teres major, looking kind of in between muscles, your lower back, your erectors. Those in a bodybuilding context, not so necessary. Like having a thicker lower back to a point doesn't help. So that's why I like a lot of chest supported rows now. I'm trying to build my upper back. But for the most part, all I'm getting at is you got your lats and traps and a little bit in between, right behind your rear delt. Those are the fancy pants muscles that look a little bit more kind of, demon eye, Hanma back looking, that kind of stuff. That's what I'm getting at. So, as fancy as that is, and as much as I might think, okay, well, I better directly train traps and, do 8 different sets of just pure trap work, shrugs and, upper back rows, high elbow flare. I think that's a way of looking at things, but, and then doing subsequently 8 sets for lats, just straight up lat work. I don't know, but that makes sense though, right? Because you would think do a similar amount of volume for each muscle group, regardless of size, to a degree. But I've gotten decent results so far with just straight up, kind of combining the two. But actually, the more I say that, it makes me kind of think that I should kind of count back as 2 muscle groups. That upper back section and that lower lat section. I might have to think about that a little bit more. We'll see. But in practice, every row you get some lat, and every, typical lat pull down, you still get a little bit of mid-back traps. So it's not like they're completely disjointed. They do play into each other pretty strongly on a set-by-set basis. But, all that's to say is it's not super often that I'm going to say, okay, this back day will be lats only, and next back day will be traps only, upper back. I think, I think you might be micromanaging yourself a little bit there. But I'll throw in a lat focus and then a row focus day just to change it up. Oh, goodness. Waiting for the caffeine to hit me from, I forget what flavor of Thavage that is. Yeah, that's something I haven't really gotten into. So this weekend was pretty substantial, right? Beyond just the straight up, Olympia itself, right? The boost and everything. No, that was the announcement for the signing with Raw and with 3D energy drinks. They're close, like they're, because it's kind of the same crew, but they're 2 totally separate entities. So don't think 3D and then think Raw, and then think Raw and then like 3D. Like they're their own complete, separate kind of things. But no, we've got some plans going forward in terms of new. Well, we'll see, right? I don't want to hint at something if maybe it's supposed to be a secret, and then we'll bring it up later. But no, actually, tomorrow I'll do a little bit of a more in-depth kind of talk about that, because that was not like a spur of the moment. If you've noticed over the last couple of, really like the last year and a little more than year and a half, sometimes I try not to say the name of a specific, I just say pre-workout anyway. But yeah, so that was was good. That was a long time in the making for sure. But I'll get into that a little bit more tomorrow. Get some more details to actually discuss what that's going to look like going forward. But no, I've already got a touch of the beta-alanine tingling me. It's been a little while since I've had any beta-alanine in my system, or since I saw a guy run a red light that blatant. That was fucked up. But no, that'll be good. So yeah, I can guarantee that there's nobody in the gym, and if you're a videographer, setting whatever DP, I would love your input on the lights in the gym. I kind of moved them around so that they were a little bit more downlit, and then I've got I got a couple just shooting straight up at the ceiling to make it a little softer, kind of more natural. But you tell me, right? I'm a professional bodybuilder now, right? Straight up. But I'm not exactly a professional light designer. More of an intermediate to amateur. So any tips there are well valued. Let's just put it like that. But yeah, we'll see. So I won't know exactly whether or not I'm going to be doing rows or pull downs first, or if today's going to be more light squeezing or like really heavy. We'll just see, right? Well, once I start warming up, that's kind of going to answer those questions for themselves. Because as much as I can maybe speculate how I'm feeling, you're never really going to know until you get on that first kind of warm-up set, and you can tell, okay, should I crank it? Should I back off? Right? Should I rip it? Or should I just squeeze it? Right? And I think there's a time and a place for both. But you want to make sure you're in the right place and time at the right time, if you get what I'm saying. But now I'm just rambling. Let's get started. All right, nothing wild, but let's start with this pull-down machine. A couple of key components. The handles are closer to this pivot point than the weight is. So I really should just bring in like a scale to actually, or like a force reader to really explain what I'm talking about. But one plate over here feels heavier here, right? Moment arm, torque, lever, we get the gist. So this isn't a machine that I want to rip. Like, I'm not going to swing these weights around because there's so much momentum involved. It's just not going to work. The tension would no longer be constant. So only 2 plates and much more controlled squeezing, holding at the bottom with a full stretch on top. So honestly, really just classic reps. Nothing fancy, nothing quick or dirty, just straight up hard set. So let's get a good song going and make some shit happen. Yeah. Yeah. 2. Yeah. 3. Yeah. 2. Yeah. 2. Okay. Oh, okay. Let's run that back a few times. Yeah. Yeah. All right. I think that's enough of that for now. Let's pick something else. Quick 4-plater should be good. I might just do the one and then move on to a different movement, but we'll see. If this feels sweet, I'll camp out. Okay. One more of those. That was good. Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's grab something else. What it will be, let's find out. I'm thinking heavy pull downs as phase 1, and then light squeezing seated rows as phase 2. So as lat bias as I can get with a pull down, and then as mid back bias as I can get with a light squeezing row. So I don't even have to really get my lats going. I can really try to, I guess the feeling is pretty much just retract my scapula. But let's make this shit happen. Two. Ooh. Yeah. Two. Two. Yeah. Okay. Ooh, okay. A little lighter for the next one. Okay. Let's run that same thing one more time. Oh my God, that was good. Yeah. Two. Yeah. Two. Yeah. 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 Okay. Two. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Oh my goodness. Okay. I think it might be time for a finisher. Ooh. Yeah, I think so. So usually I've been doing this up against a bench, you know, setting up like a whole system. but it feels the same just to sit down. So this finisher is kind of a half row, half pull down, because when in the stretch position, I'm really leaning forward and, you know, getting a full stretch like a pull down. But as I squeeze, I lean back, you know, like how somebody does like a really swinging pull down, but it's intentional so I can squeeze my traps together at the bottom whilst working my lats and getting a really big lat stretch on top. So as a finisher, hitting my whole back, this is good. Yeah. 2. Yeah. 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 2. Yeah. Ah. Yeah. Pooh. Gee. Gee. Blah. Okay. Oh my goodness. Okay. Let's pose down. Back is now complete. All right, that was good. That was dense. That was decently fast paced. And then now we're pumped. But even just standing, like sleeves out, yeah, I'm feeling good. Right? I'm feeling rather freaking good. That is for sure. So let's do a little through the shirt, just as a, you know, kind of expose into what's really next. All right. Yeah, we got something going on, that's for sure. There we go. Yeah, right there. Oh my goodness. All right. That's solid. So what was that total? All right, let's do a little recounting. 2 pull down machines, followed by 2 rows, followed by, what did I do after those? 2 pull down supersets, followed by 1 cable finisher. So that all adds up to 7 total working sets. 2 of them being, you know, kind of supersets, so a little bit extra intense. But yeah, I mean, that sounds about right. You know, if somebody did 7 or 8 sets and they really killed it, honestly, I'd be surprised if they weren't pumped. Right? That's kind of my stance there. Let's pack this shit up and roll. There we go. That was a good one. That was a good one. I don't have too much trouble with back. It doesn't. I think for me with back, I don't have to get to that place to have a solid set. If you kind of, you know, catch what I'm getting at, right? So I don't have to sit here and be like I got to go to that place for a crazy set of squats if you know, if the lift calls for it. But honestly, with back, give me a pull down, let me hit it. You know, music or no music, I think I'd be all right. Arms, I think I want to be in the zone. And this is just maybe like a preferential kind of thing. Chest, I got to be there. Chest, I got to be there for sure. Legs, I really got to be there. But for back, I mean, shit, man, as long as I feel good, I'm ready. You know, I'm ready to hit that shit. So, yeah, I'm, as soon as I turned around and started walking off, rewatching that kind of clip, I was feeling bulbous. Like, just walking around, there's a video of Kevin Levrone. You know, This is one of the pre-Olympia tapes, I would imagine. He's walking around with this big-ass white long-sleeve shirt. Takes it off, and he's walking, like, just him, not even flexing, just walking like a goddamn behemoth, right? His lats are as wide as mine are in a lat spread, just standing up like a regular-ass dude. Right? It's crazy. So that's an example of something where I have this little mental connection of, like, I want to look Kevin Levrone-esque how he's walking around. Or when I hit a front lat spread with an arm pump, I want to look Lee Priest-esque, like that one clip of him, outside in that one gym in the morning of that one video. Right? It's not necessarily a one-to-one comparison, of course. It's a given. Right? But it's fun. That's the whole point, right? You want to look at somebody who is ahead of you in any kind of endeavor and think, shit, man, he's got 2 arms, 2 legs, and a head just like me. Oh, look at that! I got a set of biceps too, right? They're my size, of course, but it's just fun. And that's something I don't think I've said this for a little while. That never goes away. Like, that really is going to stick with you pretty much indefinitely. What I mean by that is your enjoyment of seeing yourself pumped. This is probably going to be a little bit more towards the leaner side of guys, where, like, you're 20% body fat and below. Above that, you kind of have to work on getting that body fat down to really see a massive difference. Not that you can't, of course, but obviously the leaner you are, the more abrupt a pump is going to change how you look. But I remember when I was a freaking 160-pounder sitting in my high school gym bathroom doing a side chest, because I worked out during my study hall. I felt like a freaking baller, right? If anything, there's probably days where I was happier then looking at myself pumped up than even now. And I don't mean that in, like, I don't feel good now. I just mean, like, it's ubiquitous all the time. If you can finish a workout, look at yourself in the mirror and say, there it is. All right. And nothing more abstract than that thought alone. It's just fun, right? So maybe I'm wired that way to like it. Maybe I like seeing myself pumped up more than the next guy. But from my position, I don't see what's not to like, right? It's just, oh my goodness. I think it might be a combination of goal achieval, where it's like I want to work out because I just want to get all the benefits from working out, get bigger, get stronger, get leaner, get cooler, just everything. And the fact that it's like just this physical activity which demands stress from your nervous system, and it's kind of primal. Nobody ran across the plains and caught a freaking woolly mammoth in a very lackadaisical kind of chill sort of setting. Like, that shit was like fucking crazy, right? And we're only a couple of genetic mutations away from that, right? Evolution is not so fast that we're a completely different creature than straight up what we refer to as a caveman, all right, hunting and gathering, bare-fisted, and simple tools. We think we're smart now because we can use cameras and computers and scroll on TikTok, but don't forget, man, you still got this whole primal circuitry in your mind. And I'm not saying you got to go so far as the Liver King, where you're like re-embodying this ancestral tenets and doing simulated hunts or anything, but just the level of physical activity, you got to up it, and obviously not us, we work out, but I just mean people in general, right? Like, there's no organism on the planet that was designed, however you want to describe it, to just sit and do nothing, right? You got to move, right? You got to get after something. So whether that's a goal you give yourself or whatever, shit, man. And that's just one more aspect of working out, which makes me feel extra good from killing it, because I'm multitasking like 3 things at once. For one, just your body's necessity for activity, which even if working out wasn't my thing, and I woke up tomorrow and I said, dude, I'm done bodybuilding, I don't know what the hell I was thinking. Even if that was my logic, and then I decided to try to become the as good of a drummer as that guy who looks like Will Ferrell, I would still have to work out because I know the benefits, and I know I'd be missing out if I didn't. So I'm getting that need. I'm getting my own mental need of like, this is a fun activity that I like to do, and it's a long form kind of like goal achieving process of, okay, I'm doing this because I like it right now, and also it's pushing me towards things that I want to work for over as long as you want to do it. Years, decades. How many guys do you know who may be at your gym where they've been working out since they were like 16 or 14 or whatever, and they've been working out for 30 years? They've been working out for longer than you've been alive, right? So it's not something that ends. And once you get the value, like once you see it, same thing with dieting, same thing with learning about cardio and calories. I think once you see how the sausage is made in that sense, it's hard to go back. And even if you do, like even when you do get out of the swing of things, or if you know somebody where they haven't worked out for, like, in their mind, they kind of know they have this obligation to get after it because they know the benefits. Sometimes shit's gonna happen, your schedule's gonna get screwed up. That's life, right? You never know. But if you can make time, even though it might feel like a little bit of a chore or hassle or whatever, I can't guarantee it, but 99% of the time, I would imagine you'll feel better afterward, knowing that you got after it, right? It's it's as though life is a test, and you only realize what your grade was. Fast forward, however many years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, whatever. Right? And you're in this test, and you don't have to pass. There's no rule, and you're the guy who grades it too. So fast forward 10 years, maybe take somebody's kind of weekly average over the last however many months, and like think to yourself, if this is all I did for the next however long, would I feel very good about it? And a lot of the times maybe not, but it's so easy to say, I got time, man. Don't worry about it. I got time. No, come on. I'll chill for a little bit. I got time, right? And it could be as small as some shit like I got another alarm in 10 minutes. I'm going back to sleep. Let's hit snooze one more time. Right? A snooze in the morning will gradually scale larger and larger to a snooze in life, right? So I'd imagine you wouldn't want to do that, And I'm saying this kind of hypothetically for myself too, because I'm not done. The game's not over, right? I'm still playing. So I don't know how the hell things are going to turn out, but I want to keep my head in the game, right? And make sure I'm at least putting my energy towards the things that I really care about, and that I know if I slacked off on or just gave up on or whatever, then I'd feel like a total punk in the future, and that's not what I want to do, right? It's and even if you make mistakes in the process, which everybody's made all sorts of crazy shit, whether they want to like publicly say it or keep it to themselves, that's just part of it, man. As long as you thought that you were decently informed at the time, you can never make a mistake. Right? You can only have a learning experience to benefit from going forward, right? So the biggest mistake you can really make in terms of anything, like not to spin this just like straight up motivational, is not doing it, right? Not going for it, not making that shit happen, because as much as with working out, there is no wrong starting time, right? Whether you're a dude who says I'm getting into the gym 45, never worked out before in his life, or 16-year-old high school dude says I want to beef up a little bit, the intrinsic value of that move is the same across the board, right? But let's be honest here. We've only got so much time, assuming that we're not going to get like reincarnated back in some kind of crazy way. So if this is it, reasonably, I would argue it's going to be better to at least go for it, right? But that's up to you. That's I'm sure something just bubbled up, some little thought, some little activity, some little goal that you might be thinking about or whatever, and that's where things are now in your hands, because I don't know what that goal is. I don't know if you can do that. I'm not sure, whatever, right? But if you know you want to go for it, right, I think you just answered your own question. So whether that's getting a little bit more locked in, potentially counting your calories, potentially tracking some cardio, right, you won't regret it. So let's make this your pre-New Year's resolution. If this is, I'm sure not for everyone, but there's probably at least one guy who is, hearing me say this and thinking, you know what? Fuck, I'm gonna do it. Whatever that is, all right? So if that was maybe a New Year's resolution and something you've kind of been putting off, time starts now. The clock's always ticking, but now it's ticking extra. I like the idea of that. Every time I used to watch all the old Rich Piana Bigger by the Days or old Calum von Moger videos, old whatever, I know that the guys who I looked up to said some shit that got me going and got me fired up, even all the way to, a certain Big Lenny and not so much the Motor City Madman, he's not as motivational, but, these guys will say this shit, and it might seem trivial, but, it's good to take that kind of stuff far, and then you're just passing energy around. But now I'm really getting into a freaking ramble. I gotta go home, eat a big old bowl of ground beef. Ugh. Then I'm going to bed. I'm gonna try my damnedest to do cardio right when the gym opens at like 5:30. That would set me on a pretty good routine. So I guess I'll tell you tomorrow if I actually manage to make that shit happen. But yeah, nothing else to say, so I'll see you tomorrow.